What's up, everybody? This is CW from the GoatCast podcast, and this is a segment from our newest podcast episode. If you enjoy it, please like and subscribe. Thank you, guys. From the 1986-1987 season until the 1997-1998 season, where he retired for a second time, he won the scoring title every year that he played. Of course, he took 2 years off. He took 2 years of retirement, or a year and some change. Of course, he came back 95, but for 17 regular season games and in the playoffs. You can't expect him to have, he have to score Wilt Chamberlain levels to do anything in that amount of time. But the fact that Jordan was able to lead for over a year and a half, come back and remain the top scorer in the NBA with a new influx of players, new top talent. You had guys like Allen Iverson coming in. You had Kobebryant, young, but coming in. You had Shaq starting to get into his prime. You still had greats like Drexler and Barkley and Hakeem, David Robinson. You had Tim Duncan coming in. I mean, you had players that were capable of snatching that title from him for many years, actually, not just in those latter years, but in those earlier years. You had Larry Bird, Magic wasn't a big time scorer, but you had Larry Bird and Dominique Wilkins, all these other players that could have snatched that title from Jordan. But from 1986-87 through 1997-98, Michael Jordan was the scoring leader. We kind of gloss over it, even in the GOAT debate, it's kind of glossed over because, oh yes, Jordan's the scorer. But that's not an easy feat. The fact that he was able to, like I said, retire, come back, and act like he never even left when it came to being able to score the basketball, it's just insane. Even if you don't think he's your GOAT or the GOAT, you got to give that man his flowers, because that was not easy to do in that span of time. That is GOAT basketball. I mean, there's really nothing else I can say about it other than that's GOAT basketball, because we put so much stock in scoring. So when we look at players, and I've done a whole video on this, but when we talk about how players are considered great, a lot of times we look at their stats, but one stat that we pinpoint is always scoring. If you were a top scorer, then you obviously had to be a great player. I mean, that's just how we see it. I can just talk about my son and how when games were finished, he plays AAU, he plays middle school, he's playing high school now. What stat do all the players run to the scorekeeper or run to the books and look for, or ask the bookkeeper, how many points did I score? Because that's what we focus on. I mean, I tell him all the time, scoring is just a part of the game. You got to be able to do all the other things well, but that's for something else. But even then, Jordan, it's not like he just was a scorer. No, that wasn't it at all. He was a phenomenal scorer, but he also defended. He's a former Defensive Player of the Year. He's a 9-time All-Defensive Team player. Out of 15 seasons, 9 of those he was in the only all-defensive team. That's huge. I don't think we discuss the fact that Jordan was able to get these scoring titles as a young player, and even into his 30s, he could keep up that kind of volume and keep up that kind of consistency. We don't talk about that enough. Even in the GOAT debate, we talk about him having the highest average still in the NBA. He's still number 1 in PER, player efficiency rating. He's still number 1 in the playoffs. Scorer, has the highest average. He doesn't have the most points, but he has the highest average. So we talk about that. We add that in, but we don't talk about the fact that 10 scoring titles in a row, really, because when he wasn't there, he didn't. Of course, he couldn't get them. But 10 in a row, that's phenomenal, and that's just rare air.